Hello, hello, hello. I am super excited to be here with you today. And the topic we have been carrying on for the last few weeks now is on communication. How do you create a culture of open and transparent communication? My name is Joyceloy Kyompire, better known as the Dare to Glow coach. I am a career coach. I am a mental health advocate. I am an educator. I am a facilitator. I am an event organizer. Yes. And most of all, one of those things that I love doing is making an impact. And when I say making an impact, it's in so many different ways, giving back, just supporting someone who wants to, who wants to get up on their career. And that's where I come in as a career coach. Now, today we are going to be diving in the topic, and this topic is very essential for every one of us because as human, it's very, very, very vital to communicate. Even animals communicate. When an animal is hungry, the other animal will notice that monkey A is hungry. When monkey B is sick, monkey A will be able to notice that monkey B is sick and all the other things that happen. But what makes animals and humans different is the fact that we can talk. Animals don't talk. Yeah, we might have watched it in cartoons and all that, but animals don't talk. So I am going to start with a very, very short story that could make us understand exactly where I'm coming from and why it is very, very important for me as a career coach to come with this topic on how we have to create a culture of open communication. I am super excited and I'm joined by Audrey, and I'm going to request her to really help me on saying all her names correctly so that I don't say them wrongly. As an African sister, you didn't want someone to say your name wrong. I'm very sure she understands. But just to give a brief introduction on who Audrey is, and then she'll also give you more information of who she is. First, I want to acknowledge her for making it on time, regardless of a bit of some hindrances happening. I'm going to give a brief introduction of who she is, and bear with me, it's a lot. She has made great impact. She is a change maker, and that's why we're actually super excited to have her on Dawodea today. So, one of the things that I share in common with Audrey is we are both educators. But the one thing that Audrey has done is she is not just any normal educator. She is actually a global educator. And one of those things that she does that I've been following and trying to read on is she impacts not only the old, but the young and the generation to come. For me, that is very powerful. The other thing that I that draws me so much to Audrey, and I'm just going to read a bit about her introduction, is she is a multi-dimensional Pan-African leader. She has 10 years of impactful experience. So that impact is very, very vital. She is an award-winning and global celebrated educator. Like I said, she's an innovator, ecosystem builder, mentor, speaker, business process re-engineering expert, offering consultancy advisory services across the globe. And I'm going to leave a bit of some introduction for her that she's going to give to us, but I'm super honored and super excited to have you today. Audrey, you can go ahead and unmute and give us a brief introduction about yourself before we get into the topic.
Thank you so much, Joyceloy. It's such an honor and a privilege to be here this evening from Harare, Zimbabwe. That's where I'm tuning in from. So I'm really excited to be joining you. And I was talking to you prior the conversation that we're having issues with our lighting here. And that's the reason why I'm not able to even put up my video. So this also speaks to us as young people, that we need to step in to solve these challenges that we're facing on the continent, especially in Africa, to say how do we solve and bridge the gap to unsustainable lighting. So I'm really excited to be here, to be on this conversation, to talk about communication and why it is important for us to be able to understand, to share the knowledge that will set us apart. So thank you so much for having me.
Amazing. Super excited to have you too. And I just wanted to also, if you can say your name, so that if someone out there wants to say your name, they say it correctly.
So it's Audrey Simbiso Chidawanyika.
Yeah, Simbiso. You see, someone will say
Audrey
it wrongly.
Simbiso Chidawanyika.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chidawanyika. Thank you so much for sharing. So, diving into our topic for today, Audrey, I just want to know your view on how it is very essential to build a culture of transparent communication. Because sometimes we say this organization has transparent communication, but what would it mean? If you could just give us some brief definition of what it would mean to you, and then we can go to share some points on it.
Thank you so much for that. I believe that communication is critical in all aspects of our lives, whether in or like personal or professional. It's important for us to be able to develop transparent lines of communication for progression, for success, for collaboration. So it's important. It's very, 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 very fundamental for anyone at whatever stage in their life to be able to understand how to effectively communicate in a transparent manner. So you can take it maybe in a setting like professional setting, or even in personal settings as well. It's important to transparently communicate, because that's how we are able to share visions, how we're able to share goals, direction. So it's important to be able to communicate that for personal success, for organizational success, because as we share visions, we are able to have people buying into those visions. When we're able to share goals, we have people understanding what we are working towards and how we are working to get there. It also gives a sense of direction, because people understand their role within the ecosystem. Like, what is my role here? And it's because you'd have transparently communicated that. So every day we are communicating something, and it's important for us to understand how to transparently communicate. So if you're looking at personal growth itself, like I have a personal brand, you have a personal brand. For people to be able to understand brand Audrey and what she stands for, like, oh, Audrey is a global educator on design thinking. Audrey is advancing skills development. Audrey is doing this and that. It's because of the ability that I have to effectively communicate what I am offering and transparently communicate that. So it's important when building a brand to be able to communicate what you're offering, and that's how you become a force to reckon with. So it's one of the things that I've mastered over time, which is the art of storytelling in a transparent manner. So I come to share this is what I'm working on. And it's not just the success stories, it's also the setbacks as well. To say, in as much as I'm a professional on the rise and I've all these success stories, I also have my own setbacks. I also have my hurdles along the way. And being able to effectively communicate that and transparently communicate that brings the human aspect to the brand itself, that I am not a robot. I am not 100% perfect, but I am doing this and that. So it helps to be able to amplify your strengths, to be able to zero in on your weaknesses as well, so that you have people who can help you work on those. In an organization, being able to transparently communicate will boost on our customer experiences. And if before we even deep dive into customer experiences, which are very important because the success of any organization is centered on the user or the customers or the people who are at the receiving end of whatever solution or idea we have. So being able to effectively communicate will set us apart. But before we even go there, we have teams, we have people within our organization. And communication is important so that they understand the common goal. What is it that we're driving towards as an organization? What is our culture as an organization? So that there is that alignment between the vision of the goals and the people who are working towards that goal. So that's why it is important to transparently communicate. And when we do that, it means everybody understand their role within the ecosystem. Where am I positioned? And what is it that I'm expected to do? And when everybody understands their mandate within an organization, it spills into customer satisfaction. It spills into ultimate user experiences that speaks to the needs of the people we are trying to serve. And it begins with being able to communicate. And
Amazing.
when we, yes, you can jump in as well.
Yeah.
um
So I wanted to jump in on the beginning, then we can also transition to the end, where you talked about
mhm,
the personal communication on a personal
yes.
level, where in case someone is like there's some people who do different things, like they don't just do just let me give an example myself. I don't do just coaching, I don't do just facilitation, I also teach. I'm a teacher. And then you find that when I'm putting myself out there, it's hard to put everything out there. So you find someone asking you, how do I communicate effectively what I am doing and not losing myself, so that even what I'm communicating in regards to my culture, or what I'm communicating in regards to my brand, is not lost in just one thing, but
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
across. And I'll give an example of you. You do so many different things, and you have a name for that, and I want you to share it, explain it, so that someone out there who didn't even know that, because I don't want to say it, I want it to come from you. I've seen
Okay.
that you also do so many different things, and I don't want to call it multitasking because it's not that, but you are able to succeed. You have succeeded at doing it. So how are you able to communicate it effectively and actually transparently for people to understand you yourself? And yeah, I'd want to know that, so that someone out there can learn something.
So one thing that I have really gotten to understand about myself is that I am a multi-potentialite, and that is okay. Like, I am so good at so many things. I am multi-gifted. So I'll tell you, I'm an educator, as you know. I am also a speaker, as you know. I'm also a good cook. I cook for days. I also am so good with doing hair. Like, I also do hair for days as well. I am just a natural. I've got a lot of gifts that I possess. And one thing that I've said to myself is that I'm not going to limit myself or throw away all these things that I'm good at because I want to focus on one thing. God gave me all these gifts for a reason. So I'm going to use them at a time that it is relevant. So when I know that my family is looking forward to a meal from me, I go, I show up, and I give it my best shot. And they look forward to eating food from me because they know Audrey is going to cook for us, and the meal is going to be straight from the heart.
Like
So
that.
I've gone to really appreciate the multi potential that I am. And I've seen that in everything that I do, whether big or small, I give it my all, and it has an impact on people. So, hence the African wildfire, which you wanted me to talk to.
Yeah.
So, many people ask me like, why the African wildfire? So the African wildfire, because I look at myself as untamed or unconditioned or unlimited, or I look at it at myself not as unlimited. I don't have any limitations. I believe that as long as I put my heart to something, I can do it. And I've seen myself doing that as I pivoted in my career, coming from different industries where I was doing so well there. And then I said, okay, but I feel like I want to go there. And I still go into another industry and I'm still a force to reckon with. And I said, so that is the presence in me. It's the wildfire in me that is always raging, that is always burning for impact, positive impact. And I'm like, okay, so I'm not stoppable. Everywhere I go, I have the potential to impact, create positive, meaningful, and lasting impact in people's lives. So I show up. I show up like I mean it. I
Mm,
show up like God has sent me into that room and I give it my best shot. That is me. I do that. I am unlimited. I am an unstoppable force. I am a fire that you cannot quench at all. So it speaks to me. It speaks to everything that I do on a daily basis. It's my inner and outer ego. So whenever I feel down, I'm like, no, Audrey, you are the African wildfire. And a wildfire never complains. A wildfire never stops.
it
A
never ceases to
wildfire,
shine.
yeah, a wildfire can get to a point where there's a river in front of it. It doesn't stop burning. It will recourse and it will find ways to navigate. So that's what I always do in whatever situation and circumstance that I get in. That, okay, I have the ability to transparently communicate to self to say, okay, we have hit a hurdle here, but this is a point where we have to pivot. This is the point where we have to recourse. So I call myself the queen of pivoting, the queen of change, because I'm not scared. I'm not scared to transform. I'm not scared to metamorphose because I'm like, there's an opportunity to be different. So that is why this inner ego, the African wildfire, came to be, and it is the inner ego that drives everything that I do. That I am
Amazing.
that fire, and I'm not just a wildfire. I am not a wildfire in Asia. I'm not a wildfire in, of course,
African
my
wildfire.
fire can get there. It has gone there. My fire has gone to all those continents. But I am originally from Africa. I am Africa to the core. I am Africa to the last drop of my blood. So I am the African wildfire. I have to define that I am African and I am African
Amazing.
and proudly African. So that's about that. And to go to your question, like story is telling your brand, communicating your brand. I've been at such a um
A point
position
in.
where I was trying to look at, okay, I'm doing a lot of things, but how do I tell my story? How do, because everything is relevant. You don't have to drop certain things because you think they are not important. They are
Mm,
important. So even if when I get married and I'm going to be a mother, it's going to be important for me to also mention that I am a mom because it's important. So there is no way that I'm going to drop that because I feel it's not important. It's just something that people don't care about because it does
yeah.
matter, because there is a woman in the crowd who's a mom who is thinking, I have eaten a hard war because I am a mother with children. I can't do it. But the moment they see Audrey saying, I'm a mother, but I'm a
And
wildfire,
they
they're
are
like, oh,
able to be wildfire,
yeah. So
how is she able
she's
to
doing
balance
it.
it, And Audrey,
Yeah.
sorry, I have to pitch in there, jump
Yes.
in there and say, I like what you said right now. And for me, after reading your profile, I started putting a name to what I do, because I also do so many things, and everyone is like, "How are you able to do it?" And then I started telling them, you know what, I'm a potentialite, because now I
Mhm.
have a term for it. I can't say I'm a multitasker. No, I do everything perfectly at its time. But also, the thing I want to add on what you've just spoken right now is talking about being a mother. Every time I go out there and I'm speaking to women, and I'm able to tell them, you know what, I'm a mother like you, and I'm able to do the things that you think you cannot do. My friend, don't limit yourself. And you really feel, you see them light up. And then you find someone who tells you, no, you don't have to talk about you being a mother. So I've come to a point where and I love that you've mentioned it right now, where
Yeah.
people may think you speaking about being a mother is actually nothing. It is something. It's who I am now.
It's
And I love it.
everything.
It's everything.
Yes.
Being a
No
wife,
one should tell
you know?
you. I actually concur with you on that, because I feel like no one should tell you how to tell your story. You are the person who hold the pen
True.
to your life story, and there should not be a person that should tell you how to tell your story. They should focus on telling their own story than telling you how to tell your story. It's important. Being a mother is important, and being able to be a successful career woman. There's so many women that have sacrificed motherhood for career. So to see someone who is both a career woman and a mother, it's a lot of grit. It's a lot of tenacity. It's a lot of resilience. So it is important, because there is a woman who is seeing a woman who has sacrificed being a mother, being in marriage, so they can pursue a career. And they think, now if I want to be a career woman, that means I'm foregoing marriage. And it will be a wrong narrative to push, because there are women who are married, successfully married, who have got kids, but are successful professional women. So if you then forfeit that part of your story because you feel like people will ask you, is that relevant? It is relevant. And it takes a lot of self confidence and belief in oneself to be so stubborn in telling your story, because people will tell you to remove some of your story. I remember I was speaking at an event over the weekend, and they asked for my profile, and then I sent them my profile, and then they said, your profile is long, like it's going to take all the time reading that, like how are we going to, can you summarize it? That was a microaggression, because that's a, and but for me, I smiled. I said, how do I summarize things I've done?
Mm.
Everything you, that's a super summarized version. You are not used to seeing women who have really outdone themselves. So
Mm.
I am not going to put a small profile so it can be okay with you. You will have to read the profile. You will have to tell my story as is if you want me to inspire. And I said, for me, I always inspire people from my story. I don't want to look at myself as an expert, because I am a learner. Of course, I am a subject matter expert, but I am continuously learning. So putting myself as an expert is kind of like communicating to myself that I've made it. So I don't want to look at myself as that, because I want to continuously learn. So I'm a continuous learner. So my story should be able to inspire people. So if you're going to say summarize your profile, then how am I going to do that? I am going to talk
Amazing.
about fellowships that I've gone on. I'm going to talk about certifications that I've done, so that I inspire someone to continuously unlock their learning capabilities, because learning is key. The knowledge you have today might not be relevant tomorrow. So you need to continue to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So if you're going to tell me to summarize my story, then if you don't have time for me, then you would rather not have me. And I was very honest with that. I'm like, so they ended up not reading the profile because of time. And I said, okay, because you also didn't get to read my story. And now it's difficult for me to be able to speak to these ladies. So I'm pivoting my presentation. I'm not going to talk about what I wanted to talk about because it was a build up from the profile. So I'm going to talk about something else, like, okay, there's a fellowship program that I was a part of, so you ladies can apply for it. And when you have time for me, then you can read it, because I feel like I have a story that it can inspire another woman. But if you're going to present those
Narrow it.
microaggressions to me
Yeah.
to say, no, it's too long, what are you saying? You see, so
Amazing.
you will
And you
find,
see,
that you'll find
mm,
people who are like trying to alter your story, people who are trying to sort of like look at other things as if they are not important. They are important. They are very, 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 very important, because there is someone out there who is about to let go of something that means a lot to them, because they feel they can't juggle all these things. So there is a woman out there who's thinking, I have to forgo career because I have to focus on having children. But if we go there and share our stories and we communicate transparently that, okay, it's possible, it does come with its own, hurdles and setbacks, but you need the grit, you need the resilience. We share our stories. I feel like sharing our stories is the most powerful thing that we can ever do to inspire each other.
that is very true. That is very true. And just to even go back to what you're saying, in regards to the profile, I've noticed, and for me, it has worked for me, where if I go to a platform and they say, you know what, your profile is long, or you know what, I prefer, okay, I will read my profile, or I will say the things I have achieved. Because then if I do that, I'm not going to narrow myself down to talking about the things that you have called me to speak about. So for me, doing that has worked for me. And sometimes
Mhm.
people can't say you, they can't tell you the way you can tell yourself. So for me, that's what I've used as a trick, because I've realized it happens a lot to us as women. It happens a lot to speakers. Even when you go to be a speaker, you find that they would just introduce Joyceloy Kyompire, the speaker for today, and that's it. And you find that they've not said anything of who you are. So it is up to us to tell our stories. And for me right now, you've ignited in me that wildfire in me, of course, the
Mhm.
dare to glow, the dare to glow of who I am, because my story starts from home also. But that wildfire in me, where, you know what, if you're not going to tell my story, I am going to tell it, because there is no one who will tell my story like I will. So I like that, and I like the transparency in communicating it, because when you communicate it with transparency, also people can see through you and they can connect with you. And yeah, and then the other thing that I would want to ask, that maybe we could also dive in, is how could people in workplaces, professionally, embrace this culture of open transparency? That is something that you could share. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'd already started touching on like the issues of like microaggressions, like especially for women in the workplace. There are a lot of microaggressions that are directed to women in general. And this is not really personal to a person, but it's personal to women themselves. And I'll tell you, I was talking to my friend, and they had gone for an interview, and they were told that they would not be taken for the job, not because they are not good for it, but they would be preferred, uh, versus the male counterpart would be preferred versus them, because they are a woman. So it's easier because the job would require maybe some firefighting, at any time of the day. It could be in the night. So a woman would be very difficult to call maybe at 1 a.m. in the morning to say, come to work right now. Let's firefight on something. So women are presented with a lot of microaggressions in the workplace that hinders them from, climbing up the corporate ladder. Not because you're not good enough, not because you don't possess the skills or you're not qualified, but because you're just a woman. People think you are emotional. They think that you are limited by cultural ramifications, like, oh, you a girl, so you can't be coming from home at some particular time to work. A guy can do that. Um, and I was like, it's an opportunity for you to then openly and transparently communicate, even in the workplace, when you get these microaggressions, that we see what you're trying to do, and this is a an attack on women. Not on me, but they should be a paradigm shift. The way you view women in the workplace is not the way women are. It's not true that you think women are emotional, they're not able to manage their emotions, and all. So being able to communicate that in a respectful manner, being able to communicate that in a calm manner, will help um, people in organization to be able to understand that all these microaggressions that they place on women are not true about them. And trust me, to be here, I have had a lot of these microaggressions presented on me as a person. I remember my first management consulting role, I was 27, and people were asking, does she even have the experience? Why is she's a girl? She's a There were a lot of stereotypes, and I tell you, I had to work thrice as hard to be half as good. But I also got an opportunity in a very um, respectful and very calm manner. I was able to bust all those um, you know
Break through the ceiling.
microaggressions, and say,
Yeah.
you see, I was able to do it. It doesn't matter, especially now in the digital age. It's the young people that are driving innovation. In the digital age, you don't need to have someone who has been there 20, 25 years. You need people who understands the agility, the adaptability of this world, people who are tech savvy, people who understand the digital space to be able to drive innovation or to consult you on things to do with innovation. So it was more about openly and transparently communicating that and not being offended. I didn't take offense from it, because I was like, these people need to unlearn this, they need to relearn. So it is my opportunity to be able to educate them. So that's what educators of this world do. They're able
Mm,
to educate people, because what people perceive is just the things that are coming from their mindsets. But if there is no mindset shift, there is no paradigm shift, they'll continue to present those microaggressions on the next person. So it takes us as educators to communicate that we do understand that you think women cannot do this, but try us. See how women have evolved over time. The women that were emotional, that you have probably worked with 15 to 20 years ago, it's no longer us. We have evolved. We have a lot of qualities. We have grit, we have resilience, we have tenacity. We do understand the demands of an ever-changing world, that we need to place our hand on a moving pulse. So if you're going to call me in the middle of the night, and I know that genuinely I'm needed there, I am going to show up. I am going to explain to my husband that I'm needed at work. And my husband is going to accompany me, because he himself also understands. He does understand the changing landscape in which we're operating, and how important it is to be able to adapt and be agile in a workplace. So to be able to communicate that will set us apart. But you have to be very careful how you address these microaggressions, because that can also be translated as being emotional. So emotional
mm,
intelligence would be a critical skill to have. Like, how do I tackle this emotional intelligence is very important.
And it's very important that you've talked about emotional intelligence, because most people think emotional intelligence is something you're born with. It's a skill, just like communication, just like time management. So you can learn it, you know.
Mhm.
And it's very and I love what you just said right now, because even personally, when I moved to the UAE, there was that narrative of Africans cannot be teachers in UAE. You have to be a native speaker. You have to be from the UK, the US, and all that. And I told myself, you know what? I think I can dare myself to do what everyone thinks I can't do. And the thing is, you have to prepare yourself. You can't say, I am going to get in there. You know, what are you saying? And all that.
Mhm.
Find what is needed for you to get in. And just like Audrey has just mentioned right now, find out the requirements you need for you to be able to break through that that glass ceiling, you know. And definitely you just go through them. Otherwise, I like that you've shared right now, and I'm sure women out here who are watching and listening, and the ones who will be watching the replay will be able to. Some of them will relate to these stories because they have gone through them. Personally, I have, and if we had time, I would share some of them because I love sharing my personal stories. But I just want to be very, very clear that these things happen, and they also happen to men. To be very clear, some of these things happen to men. I've seen it even in the UAE here. It happens to the men where the men are not given specific positions because women are more regarded here than the men. So it can be vice versa depending on where you are, you know. So if you're watching and you're a gentleman, you're saying, oh, you guys are not talking about me. We are talking about things some of us have gone through, and I'm sure Audrey has seen this around a
Yes.
lot of women. That yeah, so that's why she's sharing from her own perception. And I hope if you're watching, you can also actually share with us some of these stories, you know. But yeah, you can go ahead, Audrey.
Yeah, for sure. These microaggressions are not just on women, on women only. Like you're saying, it depends on where you are, right? So you could be a black person in the Americas or a black person in Asia, in Europe. You have different microaggressions that are being presented to you in those spaces. And your ability to openly and transparently communicate will set you apart. You could be working in Europe and then you have microaggressions that come with race, people thinking that, you don't deserve to be in a certain position because you are black. You don't deserve to be in a certain position because you're African or you're a foreigner. So it all depends with where you are. And with women, most microaggressions, it all depends. Like women in Europe have their own, women in Africa, like us, have our own microaggressions. And you working in the Middle East and in the UAE, you also have your own aggressions, microaggressions, and some can be more to do with your religion as well. That you can't do certain things because you're Christian or you're Muslim, you're this and that. Um, and every day we are navigating those microaggressions. They could be really subtle and hence micro, or they could actually be macro aggressions where they are being explicitly communicated on you. Someone is saying it blatantly, but your ability to be emotionally intelligent and to openly communicate your position to these things will be able to set you apart. So it is very, very, very important. And at whatever stage in your career, you get all these microaggressions. People are constantly debating whether you are fit to be at that table. Like, she's young or he is young. What would they bring to a board? Oh, they are this, they are that. What could they possibly do? But it is through open and transparent communication that you're able to navigate all these hurdles as we journey towards success.
Amazing, amazing. It's been amazing, and I'm sure if you are out there watching right now, because sometimes it's hard for us to see the comments, because TrueMead is a third party. But if you're out there watching with us and leaving us comments, we really appreciate you. And if you're going to be watching the replay, leave us a comment on what you think you could do as a person, because I know cultures, being transparent in communication starts with us. And what Audrey has shared right now is a story that started with her. And look where she is right now, She is an African wildfire, You can't see that fire in her. So if you're out there, please share with us. Otherwise, I would want to say thank you so much, Audrey, for really honoring the invite and being here with us, and looking forward to having you more in the future, and also doing more with you in regards to making an impact, because that is all we have to do on this cosmos. Otherwise, I want to say thank you. I don't know if you have any closing remarks before we or anything else to add on our topic for today.
Thank you so much, Joyceloy, for extending the invitation to me to be a part of this. I'm really honored. It's such an honor to be here to speak to the Dare to Glow community, and to share the wildfire in me, to share knowledge. I feel we grow through knowledge sharing. We grow through learning from each other, through sharing our stories, because I feel our stories are a powerful asset. Our voices and our energy, powerful fuel that will drive us towards success. And to be here, to be able to shape a generation, it's so important to me. And it's such an honor to be able to do that. And I look forward to coming back here. And to talk about something that I really love, something that is really close to my heart, which is design thinking. So I hope that we'll get a session where I can come and
Yeah.
talk about design thinking and why it is important for each and every one of us to look at it, especially as we dive fully into the digital age. It is those skills, one of the skills that will help us to champion initiatives that unlock real impact and create real value within the spaces that we're operating in. So I'm excited to come and talk about it, to share about it, to share experiences from my travels all around the world on how design thinking is really shaping the future. So I'm looking forward. I'll be checking on my email. I'll be checking on my messages from you, Joyceloy, to see if the slot is going to come. But I'm really excited to have come to impact this community. And to you, Joyceloy, congratulations and well done for being the trailblazer and powerhouse woman that you are, and for creating a platform where we can have a conversation, a platform for knowledge sharing, a platform where we can dialogue to shape the world and be part of the solution to the world that we want to see and the world that we want to leave for the next generation. So continue being amazing, continue being you. All the best as you journey forward. See you at the top.
Thank you so much. And of course, we are at the top. We just have to keep being there and bringing other up there with us.
Of
Otherwise,
course.
Audrey, I just want to make a suggestion. If because the ongoing topics on communications are going to be ongoing for the month of June, and in between getting to the next topic, which is going to be July, beginning of July, you could let me know your calendar, and most likely we could cover something, in regards to a topic for everyone to understand what it means to the design thinking, because I know someone out there may learn something, someone out there may become a thinker, and may embrace design thinking because you've shared it to them. And what are we all about? We're all about that impact, that empowerment. So definitely let's work towards us making this happen, because I know personally I would want to learn more about that. And like I always say, I am a student of life. People say, why do you say you're a student of life? You're an educator. My friend, I can never stop learning. That's why I always say I keep unlearning, relearning, unlearning, learning, and relearning. So please, if you're out there and you feel you know it all, you don't. Because even Audrey, who has the biggest profile, in women that I've seen over the years, she is still learning. So we cannot stop learning, you know. So let's keep unlearning, relearning, learning and unlearning and relearning, you know. So otherwise, I want to really be grateful. I'm still grateful to you, Audrey, and it's really been a honor. Otherwise, have a lovely evening. Stay safe, stay blessed, and keep daring yourself to thrive, glow, and keep telling your story because you can say it and tell it better. All right.
Thank you so much. It's been such an honor. Have a pleasant evening, and let's continue impacting the world. Let us continue to answer to the core. Let us be the generation that brings about transformation, because we are the generation. So let's do it. It's now or never. Thank you.
Yes. It's now or never. Let's do this. All right. I'll end the session. All right.